What's up, guys? Freezing cold outside. Lake is getting colder as the days go by. It's winter time now. I want to go over my favorite winter lures. What I use in the winter time. The only things that I use in the winter time. First is just a standard jig. I'm always throwing a jig when it's cold outside. I put a trailer on there that doesn't have much action to it. Okay, this is Reaction Innovations Sweet Beaver, and I put blue garlic on the tips of it. Scent in the winter time is definitely crucial. You want to use some kind of scent. That way it's, you know, at least you're not going to get many bites, and this, I think, helps get a few more bites than you normally would. Another thing that I do on my jig is I take the skirt completely off, and I just put the trailer on there with the standard, you know, football boxer style head, with no trailer on it. Okay. The key to fishing a jig in the wintertime is to fish it as slow as you possibly can. So you want to go to those high percentage areas where that you know your biggest chances of getting bit are. You don't want to waste much time out here fishing dead water, especially when it's hard enough to get a bite. So I do go down to 12-pound line on my line as well. I feel like that'll help you get a few extra bites. So first one's the jig, and like I said, I just fish it really slow. Second one, probably I use more than most, is a 3/16 ounce hair jig. This is just a little black hair jig with a weed guard on it, and the trailer that I use, again, doesn't have much action. This is I think it's a Berkeley, some kind of claw. I don't even remember what it's called. I'll figure it out and I'll post it in the video. But chigger crawl, I think it's called a chigger crawl. So I got a black and blue chigger crawl on here with a 3/16 ounce hair jig. I've caught more fish on this hair jig than probably any other bait, with the exception of a blade bait. Blade bait is the next bait that I'm going to show you. That's probably my #1 go-to. This would definitely be a close second. And then the standard jig is what I'll go to if I can't get bit on either one of those. But yep, just simple little, it's got a little 1/0 hook on it. I'm throwing 8-pound fluorocarbon. Same setup I always do on my spinning rod, which is 8-pound fluorocarbon to a 10-pound braid. And I'm putting about 20 feet of fluoro on my leader because I want that extra, because I'm fishing it a lot deeper, so I want that extra bit of fluoro. That way it sinks a lot faster. Because if you have a shorter length of fluoro and then more braid, the braid's going to slow that bait down once it hits the water. So you definitely want to go with a longer leader. Okay. With the hair jig, it's simple. I mean, it's the same thing as you're fishing a jig. You just have to be really patient, let it hit the bottom, and then just slowly crawl it. That's the way that I work it. You could probably hop it a little bit too, but I'm trying to go as I got a bug on my screen. As simple as I possibly can. Just real slow drag. That's another great bait in the wintertime. And then my #1 go-to is definitely going to be a blade bait. Blade bait looks like nothing. It's just a simple chunk of lead. There's nothing to it. It's a chunk of lead with a weight. Usually there's 3 eyes on the front of the bait. 1, 2, 3. I use the middle one because a lot of people think that this is used for jigging, like under the boat, which is fine. You can do it like that, but it works so much better if you use it as a casting bait. So I'm using this on heavy line because it does get hung up a lot. I'm throwing 17-pound. And then the blade bait, the brand really, I've found a couple brands that I like more than others. This one, I don't even know who this one's made by, but it's just a silver. I'll either use silver or gold. Damiki makes a really good one called the Damiki Vault. Always a 1/2 ounce. I'm always throwing a 1/2 ounce regardless of how deep or shallow I'm fishing. And this little bait, underneath, when the water's 45 and lower, you can't beat this bait. There's nothing that will beat it. So if you don't know anything about blade baits, or you've never thrown blade baits before, you definitely have to check them out. It's definitely one of my favorite winter techniques, all the way down until the winter till the water freezes. I do change the hooks out. I put some trocars on this one. That's probably one of my favorite, trocar or Gamakatsu. Both of them make really good treble hooks. So yep, standard blade bait. I'm going to show you how to fish this because a lot of people don't know. It's pretty simple. So you're going to take your bait, cast it out, right, and then let it fall all the way to the bottom on a slack line. Okay, once you see it hit the bottom, then you're just going to take your rod and you're just going to do it a little hop until you feel that vibration. Once you start to feel that vibration, then you're going to kill it and let it flutter back down. And you do that all the way back to the boat. Just really tiny flutters, just like that. Flutter, hit the bottom. The biggest thing with it is making sure that this bait is falling on slack line. If it's not falling on slack line, it's basically useless. So you're going to do that all the way back to the boat. Up on, as soon as you feel the bait start to quiver, you're going to drop it again. Let it quiver, let it drop again. And just do it all the way back to the boat like that. Simple technique, deadly. 90%, 99% of the time, they're going to eat the bait on the fall. So you're going to go to lift back up to pick it back up, and it's just going to be heavy. All right. So pay attention, because when you go to lift back up, you got to make sure that you just pull into them. You don't have to set the hook. You don't have to do anything. Just reel. Okay. They do have really tiny trebles on them, so you really don't want to horse them too bad, but just make sure that your drag is a little looser than you're used to setting it. That way it gives the fish enough time to get the bait and not break your line. So those are my 3 go-to baits in the wintertime. Give them a try. They'll work anywhere in the country. The colder the water, the better. I would say these 3 I stick to when the water's under 40 or 50 degrees. 50 to 45, I'm going to use mainly the hair jig and the jig, and then once it gets below 45, the blade bait is the way to go. All right, guys, have a good one.